The rain came down in sheets, turning the Seoul alley into a river of neon and shadows. Amelia's back hit the brick wall as three men closed in, their faces twisted with something worse than anger. Hunger. "Your father's debt doesn't die with him, sweetheart," the lead shark said, his breath reeking of soju and cigarettes. He was close enough that she could see the scar running down his cheek. "And looking at you, I'd say you can work it off real nice." Amelia's hand instinctively went to her swollen belly. 7 months pregnant, soaked to the bone, cornered in a foreign country with nowhere left to run. This was how it ended. Not with dignity, not with grace, but drowning in her dead father's mistakes. "I don't owe you anything," she said, proud that her voice didn't shake. "I didn't even know he had debts until 3 months ago. Your blood, his blood, same thing." The shark reached for her arm. That's when the headlights cut through the rain like knives. A black Mercedes pulled up at the alley's mouth, engine purring like a predator. The door opened. Expensive shoes stepped into a puddle without hesitation. The sound of that single step made all three men freeze. Amelia watched as a man emerged from the car, tall impossibly, with shoulders that seemed to fill the narrow alley. His suit was perfect despite the rain, tailored to show power in every line. But it was his face that made her breath catch. Angular, beautiful in a way that felt dangerous, with eyes so dark they swallowed light. And there, just visible above his collar as he turned his head, was a tattoo, a black tiger, curved and predatory, climbing up his neck. "The woman is with me," he said in Korean, then switched to perfect English. "Leave." The lead shark's face went white. His eyes locked on that neck tattoo, and something in him broke. "Sir, we didn't know, we were just passing by. I said leave." They ran, slipping and stumbling over each other to get away. Amelia stood frozen against the wall, rain streaming down her face, watching this stranger who'd just scattered 3 dangerous men with nothing but his voice. He turned to her, studied her. His gaze travelled from her face down to her pregnant belly, and something flickered in those dark eyes. Something that looked almost like pain. He took a step closer, then another. Amelia should have been afraid, should have run. But her feet wouldn't move. There was something about him, something that made her body remember things her mind couldn't quite grasp. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. His hand came toward her face, and that's when she saw it. Tattoos across his knuckles and wrist. Geometric patterns of plum blossoms, delicate and intricate, the red ink catching the neon light like blood. Her breath hitched. Those hands. She knew those hands. His fingers were inches from her cheek when she flinched. He stopped immediately, but she saw something cross his face. Recognition? No, something deeper. "Who are you?" she whispered. He looked at her for a long moment, rain running down both their faces. Then he leaned in close, so close she could feel the heat of him despite the cold rain, and whispered 4 words that would change everything. "Pretend your baby is mine." Amelia blinked, certain she'd heard wrong. "What? I need a woman carrying my child. You need protection. We help each other. I don't even know you." His jaw tightened. "I'm Yu-Jun Sung, and if you don't come with me right now, those men will be back with more friends. Friends who won't run away." "Your choice, Amelia." She startled. "How do you know my name?" He didn't answer, just extended his tattooed hand toward her, waiting. Behind him, another man appeared with an umbrella, shorter, stocky, with the build of a fighter and a scar across his eyebrow. "Sir, we need to leave. Now." Amelia stared at that offered hand, at those plum blossom tattoos that made something in her chest ache with a feeling she couldn't name. She was 7 months pregnant, hunted, broke, and alone in a country that wasn't hers. What choice did she really have? She took his hand. His fingers closed around hers, warm and solid, and a flash of memory hit her so hard she gasped. Moonlight. Those same fingers laced with hers. A voice whispered in Korean and English, telling her she was beautiful, telling her to stop looking at him like that, or he wouldn't be able to control himself. "Are you all right?" Yu-Jun asked, steadying her. Yes, just dizzy." He guided her to the car, his hand on her lower back, and helped her inside. The interior was all black leather and wood, warm and dry and smelling of expensive cologne. The man with the umbrella got in the driver's seat. Yu-Jun slid in beside her, and the car pulled away from the alley, from the loan sharks, from the life that had been slowly killing her. "Where are you taking me?" Amelia asked. Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. He turned to look at her fully for the first time, and the intensity in his gaze made her feel exposed, seen. My penthouse. You'll stay there until we've convinced the right people that you're carrying my child. And then your debts disappear, you're protected. When the baby is born, we divorce quietly. You get a settlement that will set you up for life. You and your child will never want for anything. It was too good, too easy. Why would you do this? His expression hardened. My family wants me married to someone I don't love. This buys me time. Time for what? To find someone. His voice went quiet, almost vulnerable. Someone I lost. Amelia's chest tightened. He was in love with someone else. Of course he was. Men who looked like him, who moved through the world with that kind of power, didn't stay single unless their heart was already taken. What do I have to do? She asked. Convince my family you're carrying the Sung heir. Learn our ways. Play the part at public events. That's all, she asked at the absurdity. I don't speak Korean. I don't know anything about your culture. Her brown skin, her coiled hair plastered to her head by rain. Do you really think anyone will believe you chose me? Something fierce flashed in his eyes. Let me worry about that. The car climbed through Seoul's glittering streets, higher and higher until they reached a building that seemed to touch the clouds. The driver pulled into an underground garage. Yu-Jun got out first, then offered his hand again to help her from the car. They rode an elevator in silence. Amelia caught their reflection in the mirrored walls. Him perfect and powerful in his suit despite the rain. Her, drowned and desperate, one hand protectively over her belly. They looked like they belonged in different universes. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. Amelia stepped out and couldn't stop the small gasp. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed Seoul sprawling below them like a circuit board of lights. The space was massive, all clean lines and minimalist furniture, art on the walls that probably cost more than she'd made in her entire life. This way, Yu-Jun said, leading her down a hallway. He opened a door to a bedroom that was bigger than her entire apartment had been. There's a bathroom through there. Clothes in the closet should fit. The previous owner was about your size. Previous owner? My sister, before she married and moved to London. He moved to leave, then paused at the door. Amelia, those men tonight, they won't bother you again, I've made sure of it. How? His smile was cold. I bought your father's debt, all of it. As of 20 minutes ago, you owe me nothing. Consider it a gift. I don't understand. You didn't even know if I'd say yes. I knew you'd say yes. He looked at her belly. A mother will do anything to protect her child, even trust a stranger. After he left, Amelia stood in the enormous bathroom, staring at herself in the mirror. Her mascara had run in black rivers down her cheeks. Her dress clung to her like a second skin, revealing every curve of her pregnant body. She looked exactly like what she was. Desperate, ruined, lost. She stripped off the wet clothes and stepped into the shower. The water was hot, almost scalding, and she stood under it until her skin turned pink. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a towel that probably cost more than her last paycheck, she found clothes laid out on the bed. Maternity wear, soft and expensive, in her exact size. How did he know? She dressed slowly, her mind spinning. Something about Yu-Jun felt familiar in a way that made her skin prickle with unease. Those hands, that tattoo on his neck, the way he'd looked at her belly like it physically hurt him. But that was impossible. The father of her baby was a stranger she'd met one night at a gala. A night she could barely remember through the haze of whatever had been in that wine. A night that had cost her everything. She thought back to that evening, 6 months ago, when her life had still made sense. The Schiller Hotel had been magnificent, all crystal chandeliers and marble floors. Amelia had worn an emerald dress that made her feel almost beautiful, almost like she belonged among Seoul's elite. She'd been there representing her forensic accounting firm, trying to land a contract that would make her career. Just smile and network, her colleague Michelle had said, pressing a glass of champagne into her hand. This contract could change everything for you. Amelia had taken the glass, grateful for something to do with her hands. The champagne had been sweet, slightly floral. She'd drunk it quickly, her nerves making her thirsty. Michelle had appeared again with a second glass. You look tense. Drink up. The second glass had made the room feel warm, soft around the edges. By the third, the floor had started to sway beneath her feet. "I need air," Amelia had said, but her tongue felt thick, her words slurring together. She'd stumbled through the crowd, trying to find the exit. That's when she crashed into him. Strong hands had caught her, kept her from falling. She'd looked up into a face that was half in shadow, beautiful and concerned. "Careful," he'd said in English, but his voice had been wrong. Slow, like he was fighting against the same fog that was drowning her. "You drank it too?" she'd asked, gripping his arm to stay upright. "Too much. Something's wrong with this wine." They'd helped each other up the stairs, both of them stumbling, both of them lost in a haze that felt chemical, wrong. She remembered a hotel room, water, the desperate attempt to clear their heads, and then his face in the moonlight, half turned away, but she'd seen something on his neck, something dark and elegant. She'd reached out and touched it. A tattoo. Her fingers had traced the pattern while he'd gone completely still. "You're so beautiful," she'd whispered. "Don't say that to me here," he'd said, his voice rough with something that might have been desire or might have been fear. "I can't." But she'd kissed him anyway. And he'd kissed her back like he was drowning and she was air. The rest was fragments. His hands, tattooed and gentle, removing her dress. His voice in her ear, Korean and English mixing together, telling her to stop him, that they'd regret this. But neither of them had stopped. Neither of them had been able to. When she'd woken the next morning, he'd been beside her, face turned to the pillow. She'd seen his hand, decorated with plum blossoms, and something in her had wanted to stay, to wake him, to see his face in daylight. But shame had been stronger than curiosity. She dressed in a panic and run. 3 months later, she'd discovered she was pregnant. 3 months after that, her entire life had collapsed. And now she was here, in the penthouse of a man who made her body remember things her mind had locked away. A knock on the bedroom door pulled her from the memory. "Come in," she called. Yu-Jun entered, and she was struck again by how he seemed to fill a room just by existing. He'd changed into dark slacks and a black shirt, the collar open enough that she could see the edge of his neck tattoo. His hair was still damp, pushed back from his face. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Like I'm in a dream or a nightmare. I'm not sure which yet." He almost smiled, almost. "I've ordered food. You need to eat." "I'm not hungry." "The baby is." He gestured toward the door. "Please." She followed him to a dining room with a table that could seat 20. But he'd set only 2 places close together at one end. The food was already laid out. Korean dishes she didn't recognize, and Western food that made her stomach growl despite her nerves. They ate in silence for a while. Amelia tried not to watch him, but her eyes kept drifting to his hands. The way he held his chopsticks, the flecks of tattooed fingers as he reached for his water glass. "You keep staring at my hands," he said without looking up. She felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I'm sorry, the tattoos are just beautiful." "They're plum blossoms." He set down his chopsticks and held up his left hand, letting her see. "My wine Korean. They bloom in winter when everything else is dead. My mother loved them." "Loved?" Past tense. "She died when I was 12. "I'm sorry," he shrugged, but she saw the tension in his shoulders. "It was a long time ago. The tattoo helps me remember her, remember that beautiful things can survive in the coldest seasons." Amelia found herself reaching out before she could stop herself. Her fingers hovered over his hand, not quite touching. "May I?" He went very still. Then slowly, carefully, he turned his palm up in offering. She traced the tattoo with her fingertip, following the delicate lines of petals and branches. His skin was warm, slightly rough, and familiar. God, so familiar. "I know these hands," she whispered before she could stop herself. His fingers closed around hers, gentle but firm. "Amelia, look at me." She raised her eyes to his face. He was watching her with an intensity that made her chest tight. "The night your baby was conceived," he said quietly. "Do you remember any of it?" Her breath caught. Pieces, fragments. Why?" "What do you remember?" "The gala, the wine that made everything fuzzy. A man who was kind even though he was just as drugged as I was. We tried to help each other." She swallowed hard, her throat aching. "His hands. I remember his hands had tattoos." Yu-Jun's grip on her fingers tightened. "What else?" "His neck. There was something on his neck when he turned, something dark. She looked at the tiger tattoo visible above his collar. Something like that. Amelia? But it couldn't have been you, she continued, pulling her hand away. You said you're doing this to buy time, to find someone you're looking for, the woman you love. I am looking for someone. His voice was rough, almost broken. I've been searching for her for 8 months. I've had my people check every hospital, every clinic, every woman who was at that gala. I couldn't remember her face through the drugs, but I remembered pieces. Her voice, her courage, the way she touched my face and told me I was beautiful, even while we were both falling apart. Amelia's heart was pounding so hard she could barely hear over it. What are you saying? I'm saying I found her tonight, in an alley, in the rain, carrying our child and being too proud to ask for help, even while men threatened her. No. Amelia stood up so fast her chair fell backward. No, that's not possible. He stood too, moving around the table toward her. Why not? Because you, she gestured at him, at the penthouse, at everything. I'm the woman who got herself drugged and pregnant by a stranger. I lost my job, my reputation, everything. We can't be. That night couldn't have been. That night was real, Yu-Jun said, still moving toward her. And we were both victims, Amelia. Someone drugged us. Someone wanted to compromise me, destroy me, and you were collateral damage. Who would do that? I have enemies. Powerful ones. He stopped a few feet away, giving her space. My family isn't just wealthy. We control territory. We have alliances that other families want to break. The marriage they're forcing on me, it's political. A merger between two organizations. Amelia's mind was reeling. Organizations, you mean? The Baiko Syndicate. My family has been running it for 3 generations. His jaw tightened. I'm not proud of everything we do, but it's my blood, my responsibility, and someone tried to destroy that responsibility by drugging me at that gala. But why me? I'm nobody, just an accountant from New York. You were there. You were beautiful and alone, and they probably thought one night with a foreign woman would be scandalous enough to break the engagement. His voice dropped. They didn't count on me spending eight months losing my mind trying to find you. Amelia pressed her hands to her face, trying to think through the chaos in her head. This is insane. You can't possibly think I'm the woman from that night based on a tattoo and some half-remembered fragments. Look at me, Amelia. She lowered her hands but kept her eyes on the floor. Look at me, he repeated, gentler this time. She forced herself to meet his gaze, those dark eyes that seemed to see straight through her. Close your eyes, he said. What? Please, just trust me for one moment. Against every instinct screaming at her to run, she closed her eyes. She heard him move closer, felt the warmth of him in front of her. Then his hand came up to cup her face, exactly the way he had in the alley. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. Gentle, reverent. You're so beautiful, he whispered in Korean, then English. Even terrified and alone in the rain, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. The words hit her like a physical blow. She'd heard those exact words before, in a hotel room, in the dark, from a man whose face she couldn't see but whose voice had wrapped around her like safety. Her eyes flew open and she stumbled backward. It was you. Yes. And the baby? Her hand went to her belly. Our baby. Something broke in his expression, raw emotion flooding through the careful control. Our daughter. How do you know it's a girl? I don't. I hope. He ran a hand through his hair, suddenly looking young and uncertain. I've been imagining her, what she'll look like, if she'll have your eyes or mine, your courage or my stubbornness. Amelia felt tears burning behind her eyes. You should have told me. In the alley, when you found me, you should have told me. Would you have believed me? A strange man approaches you and claims to be the father of your child based on a night neither of us can fully remember. He shook his head. I needed to be sure, and I needed you to remember on your own. Why does that matter? Because I didn't want you to stay out of obligation or fear. I wanted. He trailed off, looking away. It doesn't matter what I wanted. Tell me. I wanted you to feel it. The connection, the way I felt it the moment I saw you in that alley, and everything in me said mine. His hands clenched into fists. But you don't remember that night the way I do. You don't remember how you looked at me, how you touched me like I was something precious instead of something dangerous. For those few hours, I wasn't the heir to a criminal empire. I was just a man, just Yu-Jun. The tears spilled over now. I do remember. Not clearly, but I remember feeling safe, feeling seen. I remember thinking that even drugged and terrified, I'd somehow found the one person in that entire building who would protect me instead of hurt me. He took a step toward her. Amelia? But that doesn't change anything. She wiped her eyes roughly. You're still a criminal. I'm still pregnant and ruined and broke. And even if that night was real, even if this baby is yours, we're still strangers who don't know each other. Then let's change that. He held out his hand again, palm up, offering, stay. Not because you're desperate or because I'm forcing you. Stay because you want to know if what we felt that night was real or just the drugs talking. And if it was just the drugs, then in 3 months after our daughter is born, you take your settlement and leave. I'll set you up anywhere in the world you want to go. You'll never have to see me again. And if it wasn't, his expression softened. Then maybe we give our daughter something neither of us had, a family that chose each other. Amelia looked at his offered hand, at the plum blossoms that had haunted her dreams for 8 months. She thought about the alternative, going back to New York, hiding in her mother's disapproving house, raising a baby alone while everyone whispered about her shame, or staying here, learning the truth, finding out if the connection she'd felt that night was something worth fighting for. She took his hand, his fingers laced with hers, and she felt it again. That sense of rightness, of coming home to a place she'd never been. There are rules, he said. My world is dangerous. You don't leave the building without security. You don't talk to anyone about our arrangement. And in 3 days, we're going to a gala where we'll announce to everyone what matters that you're carrying my child. What kind of gala? The kind where my grandmother and the elders will try to destroy you with their eyes alone, where the family I was supposed to marry will look for any weakness they can exploit, where every move you make will be judged and weighed and found wanting. You make it sound delightful. He almost smiled. You'll need training, language lessons, etiquette, how to move through my world without getting eaten alive. I'm a quick learner. You'll have to be. He squeezed her hand gently. My assistant Andrew will help. He's loyal, and he'll keep you safe when I can't be there. The man from the car? Yes, he's been with me since we were teenagers. I trust him with my life. Now I'm trusting him with yours. What about tonight? What happens now? Now you rest. Tomorrow we start preparing you for war. He started to lead her back toward the bedroom, then paused. Amelia, I need you to understand something. The people who drugged us, they're still out there, they're still dangerous. And when we announce this pregnancy, they'll come after you. After our daughter? Maybe this is a mistake. Maybe I should just keep it hidden. No. His grip on her hand tightened. I've lost you once. I'm not losing you again. Not to fear. Not to anything. The fierceness in his voice sent shivers down her spine. This was the man who ran a criminal empire, who made loan sharks flee with just his presence, who bought debts like other people bought coffee. But it was also the man who'd spent 8 months searching for her, who touched her belly like it held the whole world, who looked at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his entire life. Okay, she whispered, I'll stay, I'll try. That's all I'm asking. He walked her to the bedroom door, then released her hand reluctantly. If you need anything, I'm just down the hall, second door on the left. Yu-Jun? She called as he started to walk away. He turned back. Yes. That night? At the hotel? Do you remember what happened in the morning? His expression shuttered. I woke up alone. Your scent was still on the sheets, a few of your hairs on the pillow, but you were gone. Scared, Amelia admitted. I woke up and couldn't remember your face, couldn't remember how we'd ended up there. All I knew was that I'd done something my father would have called unforgivable. So I ran. I looked for you. I had Andrew pull every piece of security footage from that hotel. But someone had corrupted the files. Whoever drugged us made sure there would be no evidence. Why go through all that trouble? Because evidence means investigation. Investigation means questions. They wanted it to look like I'd gotten drunk and slept with a random woman, scandalous enough to damage me, but not criminal enough to involve the police. His jaw clenched. They almost succeeded. But you found me anyway. I would have searched for 100 years if I had to. He said it simply, like it was a fact as basic as breathing. Sleep well, Amelia. Tomorrow changes everything. After he left, Amelia lay in the enormous bed, staring at the ceiling. Her hand rested on her belly, feeling the baby move. Their baby, Yu-Jun's baby. Your father is intense, she whispered to the small life inside her, and possibly insane, and definitely dangerous. But when he looks at us, I feel, I don't know, like maybe we matter or worth protecting. The baby kicked hard right against her palm. Amelia smiled despite everything. You like him already, don't you? Traitor! She fell asleep thinking about tattooed hands and the way Yu-Jun had said our daughter like it was a prayer. Morning came too quickly. Amelia woke to find clothes laid out again, this time with a note in elegant handwriting. Andrew will collect you at 9. Wear the blue dress. YJ. The blue dress was beautiful, soft fabric that draped over her belly without clinging. She found shoes that actually fit, comfortable despite their obvious expense. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. She looked almost dignified, almost like she belonged in this world of marble and money. Andrew knocked at exactly 9. Up close, he was less intimidating than she'd expected. His scarred face was kind when he smiled. Good morning, Miss James. I hope you slept well. As well as can be expected. And please, call me Amelia. Amelia, then. He gestured down the hallway. Yu-Jun is waiting in his study. He wants to go over the story before the language instructor arrives. Story? The one we're telling everyone. How you met, when the relationship started, why he kept it secret. Andrew's expression turned serious. It needs to be consistent. One slip and the elders will tear you apart. Yu-Jun's study was all dark wood and leather, with walls lined with books in Korean and English. He stood by the window, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Korean that sounded angry. When he saw her, he ended the call abruptly. You look beautiful, he said, taking her in. The blue suits you. Marcus said we need to coordinate our story. Yes. Sit, please. He gestured to a leather couch. The official version is this. We met at the gala 6 months ago. You were representing your firm. I was there on business. We talked, connected, started seeing each other in secret. Why secret? Because I knew my family would object to me choosing my own partner, especially a foreign woman with no political connections. He sat beside her, close enough that she could smell his cologne. We kept the relationship hidden. When you got pregnant, you returned to New York because you were afraid. I've been searching for you ever since. Finding you was, in my words, the greatest relief of my life. That last part isn't even a lie, Amelia murmured. Something flickered in his eyes. No, it isn't. He pulled out a small box and opened it. Inside was a ring that made her breath catch, a diamond surrounded by smaller stones that caught the light like trapped stars. You'll need to wear this. We'll say I proposed the night I found you. Yu-Jun, this is too much. It was my mother's. She would have wanted you to have it. He took the ring out carefully. May I? She held out her hand, trembling slightly. He slid the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly. How did you know my size? I pay attention. His thumb brushed over her knuckles. When you held my hand in the car, I memorized everything. The shape of your fingers, the way you grip when you're nervous, the small scar on your thumb. That's from a paper cut. I was 8. Tell me about it. What? Tell me about the paper cut. About being 8. About everything. He was still holding her hand, his thumb tracing idle patterns. If we're going to convince people we're in love, I need to really know you. So she told him. About growing up in New York, her mother's disappointment when she chose accounting instead of medicine, her father's gambling that had slowly destroyed their family. About the scholarship to Columbia, the firm that had recruited her, the slow climb towards success that had ended in disgrace. Your colleague Michelle, Yu-Jun said, the one who kept bringing you drinks. Tell me about her. She was friendly, maybe too friendly. I thought she was being nice, but... Amelia trailed off, realization dawning. She was part of it, the drugging. Andrew found evidence last night, phone records, payments from the Choi family. She was paid $50,000 to make sure you drank 3 specific glasses of wine. But why me? If they wanted to compromise you, why not use someone planted, someone they controlled? Because it needed to look random, spontaneous. If I'd been caught with a known associate of theirs, it would have been too obvious. His expression darkened. They didn't care what happened to you after. You were just a convenient tool. Rage bubbled up in Amelia's chest. Where is she now? We're handling it. What does that mean? Yu-Jun met her eyes steadily. It means she'll face consequences for what she did, to both of us, to our daughter. I don't want you to kill her. I'm not going to kill her. He said it so calmly it was almost worse. But she'll never work in finance again. Every firm in 3 countries will know what she did. That's its own kind of death. Before Amelia could respond, there was a knock on the door. An elderly Korean woman entered, her hair in a perfect bun, her hanbok traditional and elegant. "Teacher Yoon," Yu-Jun said, standing and bowing respectfully. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." The woman's sharp eyes fixed on Amelia. "This is her? The American?" "This is Amelia, my fiancée, the mother of my child." He said it with such finality that even Teacher Yoon seemed impressed. "Stand up, girl. Let me look at you." Amelia stood, raising her chin despite her nerves. Teacher Yoon circled her slowly, assessing. "She's too thin. Pregnant women need more meat, and her posture needs work. She stands like she's apologizing for existing." "I'm standing right here," Amelia said, "and I can hear you." "Good. You have a spine," the old woman smiled for the first time. "You'll need it to survive this family. Come. We have 3 days to teach you enough Korean not to embarrass yourself. And you," she pointed at Yu-Jun, "stop hovering. You're making her nervous." "I'll be in meetings," he said to Amelia. "Andrew will be outside if you need anything. And Amelia?" He waited until she looked at him. "You're not apologizing for existing. Not anymore. In 3 days, you walk into that gala as my equal. Understand?" She nodded, something warm unfurling in her chest. The next 3 days were brutal. Teacher Yoon drilled her in basic Korean phrases, proper bowing etiquette, how to address elders, how to move through a room like she owned it instead of apologizing for taking up space. "Head up," Teacher Yoon snapped for the 100th time. "You are carrying the Sung air. Act like it matters." "It does matter," Amelia said, exhaustion making her honest. "She matters more than anything." The old woman's expression softened slightly. "Good. Remember that feeling when the elders try to tear you down. Remember you're not just protecting yourself." At night, after the lessons ended, Yu-Jun would find her. Sometimes in the library, sometimes on the balcony overlooking Seoul's lights. He never pushed, never demanded. He would just sit with her, telling her stories about his childhood, his mother, the weight of inheriting an empire he'd never asked for. "Did you ever want something different?" Amelia asked one night. They were on the balcony, the city spread beneath them like scattered diamonds. "Something normal?" "Every day," he admitted. "When I was young, I wanted to be an architect. I'd draw buildings for hours, spaces where light could get in, where people could feel safe." "What happened?" "My father died, and suddenly I was the heir. The empire needed me more than I needed dreams." He looked at his tattooed hands. These were supposed to create beautiful things. Instead, they sign orders that sometimes end lives. You could still change, walk away, and leave hundreds of people vulnerable. The families who depend on us for protection, for income. The alliances that keep territories peaceful. He shook his head. "I'm trapped by other people's needs, just like you were trapped by your father's debts." "We're quite a pair," Amelia said softly. "Two people who never chose this life, but we can choose what happens next." He turned to her, and in the city lights, his face was almost vulnerable. "We can choose to make this real, to give our daughter something better than what we had." "What did you have?" "Duty, obligation, power without love." His hand moved to rest beside hers on the railing, not quite touching. "My father married my mother because their families arranged it. She was miserable until the day she died. I used to hear her crying at night, wishing for a different life. I swore I'd never trap someone like that." "Is that why you've been resisting the arranged marriage?" "Yes, and because somewhere in the back of my mind I was still looking for you, for the woman who touched my face in the dark and made me feel like I was worth something beyond my last name." Amelia's breath caught. Slowly, giving him time to pull away, she covered his hand with hers. "I remember more now. Pieces keep coming back. The way you asked if I was sure, the way you kept trying to be honourable even when we were both out of our minds. I failed at being honourable." "No. You were gentle. You were kind. You made me feel beautiful when I was terrified. She squeezed his hand. I don't regret that night, Yu-Jun. Not anymore. Because it gave me her. She touched her belly with her free hand. It gave us her. He turned his palm up, lacing their fingers together like he had that night. 3 years from now, what do you want your life to look like? That's a strange question. Amelia thought about it. I want to be somewhere safe. I want our daughter to be happy, confident, never ashamed of who she is or where she came from. I want to wake up without fear. She paused. And I want to matter to someone, not because of what I can do for them, but just because I exist. You matter to me. He said it quietly, but with absolute certainty. You've mattered since the moment you crashed into me at that gala and looked at me like you were seeing the real me under all the armor. We were drugged. The drugs lowered our defenses. They didn't create feelings that weren't already there. He raised their joined hands, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. I saw you across that ballroom before the wine. You were the only person there who looked as uncomfortable as I felt, like you were playing a role you didn't quite believe in. I wanted to talk to you, to know your name. Why didn't you? Because men like me don't approach women like you. We ruin them. I was trying to be honourable. His smile was bitter. And then we both got drugged and all my good intentions died. I'm glad they did, Amelia whispered. The gala night arrived too quickly. Amelia stood in front of the mirror while a team of stylists worked on her hair and makeup. The dress Yu-Jun had chosen was stunning, deep burgundy that made her skin glow, cut to drape elegantly over her pregnant belly rather than hide it. You look like a queen, Teacher Yoon said with approval. Remember your training. Back straight, eyes forward, you belong there. Yu-Jun appeared in the doorway and went completely still. Amelia. The stylist quietly left, sensing the moment. Is it too much? She asked, suddenly nervous. You're perfect. He crossed the room to her, devastatingly handsome in a tailored black suit. Every person in that room will understand exactly why I chose you. Because I clean up well? Because you shine. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a velvet box. One more thing. Inside was a necklace, a single diamond on a delicate chain. He moved behind her to fasten it, his fingers brushing her neck. She shivered at the contact. Yu-Jun, she said to his reflection, what if I mess this up? What if I say the wrong thing or bow wrong? Then I'll be standing right beside you. He met her eyes in the mirror. You're not alone in this, not anymore. The gala was even more intimidating than she'd imagined. The ballroom was filled with Korea's elite, all of them turning to stare as Yu-Jun led her inside, his hand possessive on her lower back. Whispers followed them like a wave. She caught fragments in Korean and English. Who is she? American? Pregnant? He chose her. Yu-Jun's grandmother sat at the head table, a tiny woman with steel in her eyes. Beside her, a young woman in a white hanbok glared daggers at Amelia. The Choi family daughter, Amelia realized. The woman Yu-Jun was supposed to marry. Grandmother, Yu-Jun said, bowing respectfully. May I introduce Amelia James, my fiancée, the mother of my child? The silence that followed was deafening. Then, like a thunderclap, the grandmother's hand slammed on the table. You dare bring your foreign whore to this gathering? She said in English, clearly wanting Amelia to understand every word. You disgrace this family, this bloodline, everything your father built. Amelia felt Yu-Jun tense beside her, but she stepped forward before he could speak. Teacher Yoon's training kicked in, back straight, eyes forward. You belong here. With respect, Halmeoni, she said in careful Korean, using the word for grandmother, I am not a whore. I am a woman who loves your grandson and who carries your great-granddaughter. I did not ask to be here. I did not seek this life, but I will not apologize for existing, and I will not let you shame my daughter before she's even born. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. The grandmother's eyes went wide. Then, impossibly, the old woman smiled. You have fire. Good. The Sung family needs fire. She stood, moving around the table to place a hand on Amelia's belly. If you're carrying his child, then you're family. But family in this world means loyalty above all else. Can you give that? I can, Amelia said. If he gives it, I like her, the grandmother said to Yu-Jun. Much better than that simpering Choi girl. This one has teeth. The Choi family stormed out, their departure causing another wave of whispers. But Amelia barely noticed. She was too focused on Yu-Jun's hand finding hers under the table, squeezing gently. "You were magnificent," he whispered. "I was terrified." "Even better." The rest of the night passed in a blur of introductions and careful conversations. Andrew stayed close, running interference when anyone got too aggressive with their questions. Teacher Yoon watched from across the room, giving Amelia small nods of approval. As the evening wound down, Yu-Jun led her onto the balcony for air. The city stretched below them, the same view as from his penthouse, but somehow different tonight. More real, more possible. "What happens now?" Amelia asked. "Now we wait. The Choi family won't let this insult stand. They'll retaliate." His jaw tightened. "I've increased security. You don't go anywhere without guards. I'm not afraid of them." "You should be. They're dangerous and they've been humiliated." He turned to face her fully. "Amelia, I need you to know something. Whatever happens, whatever they do, I will protect you and our daughter, even if it costs me everything." "Don't say that. It's true. You matter more than the empire, more than the alliances, more than any of it." He cupped her face with both hands, his tattooed fingers gentle against her skin. "I'm in love with you. I think I've been since that night, but I know I am now. Completely, terrifyingly in love with you." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "We barely know each other. Then we'll spend the rest of our lives learning. Say you'll stay, not because of the baby or the protection or the money. Stay because you feel it too. This connection, this impossible, terrifying thing between us." "I'm scared," she whispered. "So am I. Be scared with me." Amelia looked into his eyes, those dark eyes that haunted her dreams for 8 months, and made her choice. "Okay, yes, I'll stay." He kissed her then, gentle and deep, his hands cradling her face like she was something precious. The city lights blurred around them. Somewhere inside, people were still talking, still plotting, still judging. But out here, it was just them. Just Yu-Jun and Amelia and the baby that had brought them back together. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to hers. "Thank you for crashing into me at that gala." She laughed through her tears. "Thank you for catching me." 3 months later, Amelia lay in a hospital bed, Yu-Jun gripping her hand as she pushed through the final contraction. And then, impossibly, a baby's cry filled the room. Their daughter. Red-faced and perfect and screaming her displeasure at the cold world. "She's strong," the doctor said, placing the baby on Amelia's chest. Just like her mother. Yu-Jun's face was wet with tears as he touched his daughter's tiny hand. She gripped his tattooed finger immediately, holding on with surprising strength. "Hello, Hee-won," he whispered in Korean. "Hello, my beautiful girl. Your mother and I have been waiting for you." Amelia looked up at him, at this man who'd searched for her across 8 months and an ocean, who'd given her back her dignity, who'd taught her that being loved wasn't something she had to earn. "We did good, didn't we?" "We did perfect." He kissed her forehead, then his daughter's. "My girls, my whole world." And in that moment, Amelia knew that everything, the drugging, the shame, the fear, the running, had led her exactly where she needed to be, home, in the arms of a man who truly saw her and loved what he found. If you loved this story of second chances and unexpected love, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling us what you thought of Yu-Jun and Amelia's journey. What should we write next? Your engagement helps us create more stories like this. Like this video if you want to see more romantic tales with powerful twists. The end.